Students, in the previous video lecture, we have learnt about Ohm's law and resistance. We have derived equation for, we have got relation between voltage and current, and we have even defined resistance. Resistance depends upon the nature of material. That's what we have learnt in the last video lecture. In this video session, we will discuss about limitations of Ohm's law and what are ohmic and non-ohmic conductors and factors affecting resistance of the conductor. Now coming to the limitations of Ohm's law, we have few limitations. First limitation is that this law is valid for conductors at a constant temperature. So this is not universal. It is applicable only when the temperature of the body is being fixed. The resistance of the conductor increases with temperature. So for changing temperature, voltage current graph for a conductor will be non-linear. Non-linear in the sense it is not a straight line. For a metallic conductor, we have got VI graph. We are taking voltage on x-axis, current on y-axis. If you plot voltage current graph, you have got a straight line for a metal. Metals are good conductors of electricity. This is a conductor. Metals are good conductors of electricity, right? So for a metal, you'll be getting a straight line if and only if the temperature of the body is being fixed. If the conductor temperature is variable, then in such case, if conductor temperature changes, resistance changes. If resistance is changed, then VI graph will not be a straight line. It will be curve. That is point number 1. So limitation of Ohm's law is it is applicable only at constant temperature. As temperature of the conductor changes, then resistance undergo change. Therefore, VI graph will not be a straight line. It is a curve. Such conductors are called as non-linear conductors or non-ohmic conductors. Coming to B, in case of insulators, Ohm's law is not followed at all. So if you are dealing with insulating conductors, insulators, of course, insulators in the sense they does not allow electric current to pass through. For insulators, there is no question of Ohm's law. Ohm's law is not at all applicable for insulators. Insulators do not conduct at all, but when a very high voltage is applied across an insulator, dielectric breakdown occurs and all of a sudden current begins to flow. So if you are increasing the voltage, say for example you are taking insulator, and this insulator is connected to a potential difference, that is a battery which is of very large voltage, like it can be of order 10 power 5 volt. So 10 power 5 voltage you are supplying, this much greater voltage if you supply. In such cases, there will be dielectric breakdown. So this insulator become dielectric. That means all electrons and as well as positive charged particles within this insulator get separated. That is known as dielectric. So an insulator is also known as dielectric. It is at higher voltages. Only at higher voltages dielectric breakdown takes place. And even in this case, Ohm's law is not valid. Remember that Ohm's law is not valid even for dielectrics also. Now coming to number 3. Ohm's law is not followed by semiconductors. A VI graph has a steep rising at a particular voltage, which indicates that material belong to conduct properly only after a certain voltage. So of course about semiconductors you will be learning in your intermediate standard, but for time being you just remember that Ohm's law is not followed by semiconductors. There will be no validity for Ohm's law in case of semiconductors. These are the 3 limitations. First one is that Ohm's law is not applicable if the temperature is variable. Second one is that Ohm's law is not at all applicable for insulators. Third one is that Ohm's law is not applicable for semiconductors also. So in these three cases, there is no validity for Ohm's law. And those materials which obey Ohm's law, you will be getting a straight line graph when you plot voltage and current. Such materials are called linear or ohmic conductors. They are called linear or ohmic conductors. But in some cases, for semiconductors and dielectrics, you will not get a straight line when you plot voltage and current for that material. In such case, you will be getting a curved graph. Such type of materials are called non-linear or non-ohmic conductors. Non-linear conductors, or they are also called non-ohmic conductors. There are two types of conductors depending upon Ohm's law. You can classify them into linear conductors or ohmic conductors. Non-linear conductors, they are also called non-ohmic conductors. So these are the three limitations of Ohm's law. Let us see the differences between ohmic and non-ohmic conductors. Ohmic conductors obey Ohm's law, whereas non-ohmic conductors does not obey Ohm's law. Point number 2. Voltage current graph is straight line for ohmic conductors, whereas voltage current graph is curved. So if you plot voltage and current, this is current in ampere and voltage in volt. If you plot graph for voltage and current, you will get straight line in case of ohmic conductors. Whereas in case of non-ohmic conductors, if you plot voltage and current for that conductor, in such case you will be getting a curve like this. So this is curved. VI graph is curved, whereas for ohmic conductors, VI graph is a straight line. Ohmic conductors are also called linear conductors. Ohmic conductors are also called linear conductors, whereas non-ohmic conductors are called non-linear conductors. Because their graph is non-linear, they are also called non-linear conductors. So that is number 3. And number 4, examples for ohmic conductors. All metals are conductors. All metals are ohmic conductors, whereas non-ohmic conductors are semiconductors, electrolytes, dielectrics, alkali metals, etc. are non-ohmic conductors. So in this case, in case of ohmic conductors, V is equal to IR is valid. But whereas in case of non-ohmic conductors, V is equal to IR, this is not valid. For non-ohmic conductors, V is equal to IR is not valid. Therefore, we cannot use V is equal to IR formula generally. In case of non-ohmic conductors, there you will get some proportionality constant that you will be learning in your higher sections. That's the comparison between ohmic and non-ohmic conductors. Students, we have already learnt about resistance of a conductor. So resistance is the property of the material which is inbuilt. Every metal do have resistance. All materials will offer some resistance. Some materials will offer less resistance. Some materials will offer greater resistance. That depends upon their nature. And there are also few factors upon which resistance depends on. The few factors which are influencing resistance are temperature, material, nature of the material, length of the conductor, and area of the cross section. These are the four factors which affect resistance. First one is temperature. As metals resistance increases with temperature, that I have told you yesterday in the previous lecture itself. What would happen with temperature? See, check it up. You have a conductor and there are electrons. There are electrons in a conductor and there are ions here. These are ions. Ions are positively charged in case of metals. This is a metallic conductor. Now, what would happen when you are providing potential difference to this? Electrons get drifted. As electrons are being drifted, they gain some velocity. Now, let me consider this is gaining some velocity and it hit the ion. As a result, it loses its energy. Now, what happens is, as temperature increases, kinetic energy of electrons increases. As temperature increases, from kinetic theory of molecules, we can tell that electron kinetic energy increases. So as electron kinetic energy increases, what would happen? A number of collisions increases with kinetic energy. So as kinetic energy increases, number of collisions increases. Number of collisions increases, more is the resistance offered in that particular material. Therefore, as temperature of the conductor increases, you can tell that clearly the resistance of the conductor will be increased. This is in case of metals. So for metals, remember this point. For metals, this is for metals. As temperature increases, resistance increases. As temperature increases, resistance increases. Whereas for semiconductors, as temperature increases, resistance decreases. Vice versa. For semiconductors, it is opposite. For conductors, that is for metals, it is same. As temperature increases, resistance increases for metals. For semiconductors, as temperature increases, resistance decreases. So that is first factor which affect resistance of the body. So as temperature increases, resistance of the conductor increases. Next is nature of the material. As I already told you, different materials will be offering different resistance. So therefore, insulators will have greater resistance, conductors have smaller resistance, and even in conductors also, different conductors has different resistance. Say for example, we have gold, copper, aluminum, and silver. These all are metals. But remember, conductivity of gold is greater than that of copper. And similarly, copper conductivity is greater than aluminum. Likewise, the resistance also depends upon different materials. Resistance of aluminum is greater than resistance of copper is greater than resistance of silver is greater than resistance of gold. Okay, so this is resistance which is variable with respect to material. So as nature of the material changes, resistance also changes with respect to that material. That is point number 2. Next, as length of the wire increases with area of cross section is constant, length of the wire increases, resistance also increases. I'll explain this in detail. Similarly, if area of the cross section is increased, then in such cases resistance will be increased. These 2 points I will be explaining by taking empty slide. I'll explain this length, how does it vary with length and how does it vary with cross sectional area. So with temperature and material we have discussed now. Fine. Let us take two conductors of length L1 and L2. L1 length is less than that of L2. Area of cross sections are same. Now in these both cases, what happens to resistance? How does it vary with respect to length? I will tell you. In the first case, as length of the conductor is less, the ion number is less. As ion number is less, the number of collisions here will also be less. So as length is less, number of collisions is also less. As number of collisions is less, what would happen? As number of collisions is less, resistance is less. Now come to this. What is happening here in this case? As length is greater, as L2 is greater than L1, number of ions in L2 is greater than number of ions in length L1. As number of ions is greater, number of collisions in length L2 is greater than number of collisions in length L1. So as number of collisions is greater, what would happen? Resistance of length L2 is greater than resistance of length L1. So usually in case of length L2, there are more number of ions. So when the electron is moving throughout this length L2, it come across with different number of collisions. As a result, as number of collisions increases, resistance of the conductor also increases. Therefore, as length of the conductor increases with same area of cross section, the resistance of the material will be increased with respect to length. So that is the relation between length of the conductor. So I can clearly tell as area of cross section is constant for both wires. As area of cross section is constant for both wires, resistance is directly proportional to length. So R is proportional to L. Simply I can remove this proportionality and I can include a constant. R is equal to rho into L. I can write R1 is equal to rho into L1. R2 is equal to rho into L2. If I take ratio of these two, R1 by R2 is equal to L1 divided by L2. That is what? As length of the conductor increases, what happens to resistance? Resistance do increases. This is valid if area of conductor is constant. So when area of cross section is constant, in such cases resistance is directly proportional to length L, and purely it depends upon the number of collisions taking place in length L1 and L2. As the number of collisions increases, resistance increases in this case. We are now finding change in resistance with area of cross section. For that, I am taking two conductors of same length L. L is constant, but they are having different area of cross section. Materials are also same. Say for example, if this is copper, this is also copper. Nature of material is also same. But area of cross section here is A1, area of cross section here is A2. A2 area of cross section is greater than A1. Now, as area of cross section increases, surface area is increased, what would happen? Say for example, this is surface area of the first conductor. This is surface area of the second conductor. If you are taking two surface areas, you could clearly see in the first case, as the surface area is increased, the charges across this surface area will be more in number than that of area which is present over here. Clearly you can see that this is area A2, this is area A1. So as area of cross section of A2 is greater than A1, as A2 greater than A1, number of free electrons on surface A2 is greater than number of electrons on surface A1. Okay, so therefore as the number of electrons in A2 is greater than number of electrons in A1, what would happen? As conductivity depends upon free electrons, right? As conductivity, as conduction depends on free electrons, as conduction depends upon free electrons, therefore conduction of second area of cross section A2 is greater than that of A1. Therefore resistance of A1 is greater than A2. So clearly, as area of cross section increases, number of free electrons is increased. Therefore, resistance R is inversely proportional to area of cross section. So as area of cross section increases, what is happening to resistance? Resistance is decreased, vice versa. Here resistance R2, here resistance R1. R2 is less than R1 because conduction of A2, conduction, I consider conduction as let me take it as sigma 2 and sigma 1. Here in this case sigma 2 is greater than sigma 1, where sigma is conductance. So as it has greater conductance, obviously resistance will be less. So sigma is reciprocal of the resistance. Clear? So I can now write R1 by R2 is equal to A2 divided by A1 because they are reciprocal to each other. As a result, area of cross section increases, resistance of the conductor decreases. This is how at constant length it is taking place.